right, I'm going to get started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of our 3-part webinar series for restaurants and hospitality industry, and navigating some of the issues and the funding, etc., that we may have in these times. Today we have with us, we have Richard Santore from Bielat, Santore and Company. He is one of the founders of that company. We have Chris Carlson, who is a SCORE mentor and volunteer with SCORE, and also an entrepreneur here in Monmouth County with a wealth of knowledge and experience. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So we are representing Monmouth SCORE chapter. We are part of SCORE, which is a national organization which is funded and powered by the SBA. We offer free mentoring services to small businesses. We here are part of the Monmouth County chapter, but SCORE offers mentoring services around the country and has offices in most counties and states in the country. If you are looking for a mentor, please go onto our website at monmouth.score.org, and you'll find a host of us on there who can help with any types of things that you may need help with. And on the flip side, we're also always looking for mentors. We're looking for volunteers to help us and to help mentor in the small business world. As small business owners, we know how challenging it is and how it can really help us to have somebody to talk to and somebody to sort of bounce ideas off and talk about any kinds of issues we're having within our businesses. So if you're looking to be a mentor or have a mentor, please, check it out. This is being recorded and it's going to be on our YouTube channel. So within a couple of days, you'll find it on our YouTube channel, which is Monmouth SCORE. So if you have missed it, or you came in late, or you want to go back and review anything, feel free to go and take a look on our website or our YouTube channel. And it will also be on our Facebook page. And I think that's it. With that, I'm going to pass this over to you, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Claire. As Claire said, I am Chris Carlson. I'm a retired CEO and entrepreneur of 25, 30 years. Nowadays, I do what I like the most. I'm helping small businesses, small mid-sized businesses that are typically in financial trouble, and I do quite a bit of volunteer work for Monmouth SCORE. I am a numbers guy, and I love marrying up numbers with operations and the strategy and fixing things. I'm here today with a restaurant hospitality finance veteran of 30 years, Richard Santore at Bielat Santore. We're presenting a finance webinar series for the restaurant hospitality industry. For you who will attend all three, we'll send you a little certificate. I am not a restaurant hospitality expert, but Richard certainly is. And he today will give you invaluable insight into sometimes overwhelming process of loan requisitions, or as we loosely call it, the business plan. The business plan isn't just numbers and words for the bank. It is first and foremost your own roadmap to success. It should take you through who you and your company are and how you are going to do your success. We're going to do a little bit of a recap of the last webinar, just very quickly before we kick it over to Richard. So I said before we go on to Richard, and he will show us how to put together the documents to give to the banks and lenders to get these wonderful loans. Let's look at the different loans categories we went through the last time. First, we have the conventional loans, also most of the times called term loans and mortgages. And they typically are 20 to 25 year loans, typically on the commercial side. And they typically lend 75 to 80% of appraised value of the building. Terms usually when you have to pay back 5 to 7 years, but usually the monthly payments are based on the 25 to 25 years payoff. Right now, rates seem to be on the upswing, 25 basis point, 2% over prime. Often these loans are lent to an entity that is formed separate from the operating company. So you do two separate companies, one do the real estate, the other one do the operations. Typically a little bit cheaper rates and cost than the SBA, but also typically a little bit higher down payments. But right now, there are special deals you do if the lender hook up with the state economic development. You can get up to 95% loan. I've seen a couple of those. And here on those capital loans, you typically have to be, your rent or your earnings, depending on how you do it, has to be about 120% higher than what your actual mortgage payments are. Moving on to commercial line of credit, what that is really a fixed loan amount where you can borrow up to a certain amount, and you only pay the interest per month. Typically higher rates than a mortgage, and usually they will file a lien, general lien on all the company's assets. Moving on to the SBA side of it, we went through the SBA Community Advantage Program, which is a pilot program for underserved markets, maximum $250K, and the SBA guarantees 85%. There's also an SBA Express program that goes up to $350K, and typically seven-year loan, and the SBA guarantees 50% of that. And then there's the SBA 7A loan, which we tend to hear a lot about, as we do on the 504. $5 million max, and it's typically also a mortgage type loan up to 25 years, and the SBA guarantees 75%. You have the 504 loan program. The difference to the 7A is really that here, SBA actually goes in and lends part of the loan. They're up to 40%, lender does up to 50%, and there's a 10% down payment, and the SBA guarantees 100% of the loan. So, Richard, with this little intro, we go on to you. And you're going to show us how we prepare to get these wonderful loans and get us to finance our operations. So I'm stop sharing now, so you're on, Richard.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Appreciate the introduction, and welcome everybody. I'm glad we have this opportunity this morning. And as Chris said, one of the important things, no matter what type of financing you choose to go after, is your presentation, because your presentation that you make to the bank is going to tell them a lot, whether you know what you're doing, whether you know your numbers, whether you understand the loans, and whether you can build your case good enough for a bank to say, yes, we're interested in financing your project. So what I'm going to share with you today is building this loan requisition package, and not only just outlining it for you, but I'm going to try to switch between screens so I can show you what the actual parts look like once it gets done. And there are about 12 pieces to this puzzle. We start off with a loan abstract. We then write an executive summary. Chris mentioned your business plan. We talk about your management, your operations team. We discuss and we show the proceeds that we're asking for, how we're going to use them, how we're going to appropriate that capital in our project. If we have a project that includes renovations, we include a renovation budget. We give the bank a summary of the collateral we're offering. We do a full set of pro formas, a financial analysis. Now, that's the subject of our third webinar. That'll take a whole webinar to do so. We're going to skip over number 9. That'll be the third webinar, putting financial pro formas together. We describe the property that we're acquiring. We tell the bank about the marketplace, about the competition, and we include a set of exhibits that are very important for the bank's review of the entire package. So let's start off with the loan abstract. the loan abstract itself is a 1 or 2 page outline of your presentation. And it should include information on the applicants, on the assets and business that's being purchased, the estimated value of those assets, the requisition loan, what are you asking for? What's the amount? What's the terms you're requesting? How much capital you're injecting into the project? What are you offering as collateral? When do you want to close this loan? And then always include information about your attorney and your accountant as well there.
Richard, I don't think you're sharing your screen.
You don't think I'm sharing my screen?
No, I don't see it. So
Oh, no.
You don't see it?
Screen sharing, share screen.
Okay, 1 second. I think I'm out of this, Chris, because when you dropped, I didn't come in.
Yeah, just go to the bottom of your screen there, and the little thing will pop up that says screen share.
Let's see. I don't think I'm in that. Let me see 1 second. Here we are, right here. I'm sorry. Are we sharing now?
Yep, you are.
Okay. I'm sorry. That was this was the one slide I just went over. But now what I want to do is I want to show you exactly what that loan abstract should look like. So we talked about the applicant information. You should list the applicants, whether it's one applicant, whether it's co-borrowers. The bank's going to want to know, or your lender's going to want to know your address, your date of birth, social security number, driver's license number. You should also have a picture of your driver license ready to submit as well, and the ownership percentage of each owner. Right. You should list the premises that you're purchasing. The type of business. Was it a restaurant? Is it a hotel? Is it a golf course? Is it a banquet facility? Right. What are the assets? Describe the land and building. List the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. If there's a liquor license, include that. Give the bank the land and building value. If you have an appraisal, that'll help. If you don't have an appraisal, don't worry about it because the bank's going to do one anyhow. Estimate the liquor license value. List that on there. Put your requested loan in there. How much money you're asking for. How much money you're going to inject in your in equity yourself. What's the requested terms that you're asking for? What security you're going to offer the bank? When is your requested closing date? And who is your attorney? And who is your accountant? Because the banks may want to reach out to both of them with questions they may have. All right. So when we put that all together, right, that's what we call our loan abstract. That's the first part of our presentation. The next part of our presentation may be the most important. It's called the executive summary. And the executive summary provides an overview of your entire presentation. And it's usually the first section that the lender or the investor is going to read after they see that abstract. And oftentimes the executive summary is the only place that decisions makers are going to go to make the decision of whether your request for a loan is warranted. So your executive summary must grab the attention of your reader, right? And they must be able to read through it easily, and it must summarize your entire presentation, right? So let's take a quick look of what that may look like. So your executive summary is first a narrative. You take what you have in your abstract and you put a short narrative. You're requesting, in this case, $1.4 million loan. The applicants are John Doe and Edward Smith. The loan is required to purchase the real property, the liquor license, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment of a certain restaurant known as the Hilltop Restaurant. Describe where that is. You want to say pursuant to a contract that is signed, you need the loan and you're requesting the loan to purchase these assets. So that's where we stop for a second. If you are acquiring a piece of real estate and or a business, don't even consider going to a bank until you have a signed contract on that deal, because the bank is not going to take it seriously until there is a signed contract. You may have an initial conversation with your banker before you sign a contract, and they may give you an indication that yes, they might be interested in taking a look at it and entertaining the financing, but you're not going to get a commitment from any bank or any lender until you have a signed contract. So that's important to have as part of your requisition package.
Richard, does it help for the initial conversation to have a letter of intent?
A letter of intent doesn't usually get you to that point. You know, the bank, you know, a letter of intent is really just an agreement on the terms that between a buyer and seller. But you know, to really have a deal that a bank's going to look at, they're going to want to see a hard contract with a financing contingency within there.
Okay.
So moving a little bit forward, this is a summary, again, your executive summary. So you want to spell out right on the front page, the acquisition cost, your renovation cost, your closing cost, a reserve, the total project cost that you have in this particular example is $1.8 million. And how are we going to get that $1.8 million? Well, the applicant is going to put up $400,000 and he's requesting $1.4 million mortgage from this bank. Right. Now, the rest of this is still your executive summary. The rest of the executive summary is just taking important excerpts from each of the following main topics that you have in your package, right? So we're taking a paragraph or two from your business plan summary. We're taking a paragraph from your management summary. We're taking a paragraph from your renovation summary. We're posting this right up front in the executive summary. We show a concise breakdown of your use of proceeds and your capital. We show the collateral that you're willing to offer. We show a projection, a snapshot coming from what your first year's sales are, and showing the bank that, you know, we have an estimated debt service of $106,000. We have cash available of $269,000. So our debt service ratio is 2.53 to 1. That's right up in front. So the bank takes a look at this snapshot right here of the executive summary, and they can see right from there is if this is going to be something that we want to pursue. And if they want to pursue it, now they're going to get in depth and they're going to continue to read the rest of your presentation. And
yes. Richard, what you're saying is that unless the lender can see up front what this is all about and if it's actually worthwhile, they're not going to read through the whole thing.
Yes, but not really in that format. I would say if the lender might see something that he doesn't like in the executive summary, he may just say that look, this isn't worth going through this whole package for, right? So that's why the upfront abstract and the executive summary are very important. You know, these lenders, especially now in this time where the SBA is putting some incentive programs, they're probably getting a dozen or two of these a week to look through, and you know, they want to be able to move through these quickly. And if they can see that, look, your executive summary is well thought out, you've laid out an outline of the deal for them, they're going to move on and they're going to read the rest of your presentation. And the rest of your presentation, like Chris said, will be your business plan, right? Your business plan, which is the roadmap of how your new restaurant or your new acquisition is going to develop, right? What is your concept? What is the concept you're going to go into? You really got to explain to a bank about the food you'll be serving, the inspiration behind your concept, an overview of your service style, defining what your restaurant is really about. don't forget, you are the restaurateur, you are the hospitality expert. You're dealing with a banker that the only time that they have any knowledge of a restaurant is when they go in and order off a menu, right? You need to spell out your goals and objectives, right? The lender is going to want to see your short-term goals. The first 1 to 8 weeks after you close, what's going to take place? The next 2 to 12 months following that, right? The first 2 years, where are you moving there? And then long-term goals at the 5 years to show the lender that you thought this out. You know, you're not just going in, give me the money, I want to put the key in the door, but you've thought this out. And you can show your lender and your investor how you plan to gain traction from week 1 through month 60 to make this project work. Always include a sample menu, right? A sample menu is an important indicator of your brand. Your sample menu should include prices that are based on a detailed cost analysis that you've already done. Right? This will give your lender or your investor an understanding of your targeted price points. It'll be your first building block of figuring out your average check estimations, and it'll be also a basis for the financial projections that we'll get into on the third webinar. But what it really shows the bank is that you've done your homework. You've costed your menu out. You've done your homework, and you're presenting them a detailed analysis of that. So let's just quickly go back and look what that business plan might look like written out. It's basically in narrative form. You know, we want to talk about the asset we're purchasing. We want to talk about any other restaurants that we may own. We can see in this particular example that the applicants are owners and operators of another restaurant, right? And since purchasing that restaurant, they have increased sales by over 300%. It's an important fact for a lender to know that, look, these guys got experience. In 4 years, they took a restaurant to 300% increase in sales, right? We talk about how this new restaurant is going to be similar to the first restaurant, and the menus will be very similar, right? We talk about the grand opening, what's going to take place at the grand opening. We mentioned to the lender that this is in a seasonal location, and we're going to concentrate our advertising dollars to capitalize on that seasonal location. But we're not going to forget about the rest of the year. We have events planned and coordinated to bring in money in the off months. And here's where we talk about our goals and objectives. Week 1 to 8, we're going to completely renovate the premises. We're going to create an open kitchen concept. We're going to expand the bar area, right? We're going to paint the exterior of the building. Whatever you're going to do in that first 2 months, we want to spell out in distinct bullet points for the lenders to look at. Your intermediate goals, you're going to streamline your menu based on the response of your customers. You want to maintain your consistency in the food and drink, review your sales and expense activity, increase the overall appearance of the facility. And your long-term goals are to develop, a loyal and satisfied clientele, maintain a courteous, well-trained staff, right? Increase sales by 100% over a 5-year period. And maybe a little bullet point is what you feel the key to success is in your business. This particular package said that we had friendly, timely service, great food, and an overall good vibe will be the restaurant's cornerstone. So that part right there is our business plan, right? And that's the meat of the package. So far we have the abstract, which is just an outline of what's going to be contained. We have our executive summary, which is a summary of each part of our presentation. And now we're building the parts of the presentations, the business plan. The next section will be our management section, right? Where we need to talk about your experience. One of the main criteria a bank looks for when you go to get a loan for a hospitality acquisition is experience. Right? They don't want a doctor or a stockbroker or a Wall Street a retiree coming in and applying for a loan for a restaurant if they have no experience. So you need to demonstrate your work experience that you've acquired over the course of your career. Many of you have worked very hard in the industry and have a chance now to purchase a restaurant of your own. And that's what you need to lay out for the bank. You need to show them that, look, I've been trained in all facets of the restaurant industry. Right? I've worked in an industry. Here's what I've done. Here's my experience. So you want to spell that out in your management section. You want to include resumes on each of the applicants, if there's more than one applicant, and any of the key staff. You may be a restaurant manager that's applying to buy a restaurant. So you're not a chef, but you have a key chef that's coming with you, an experienced chef. Let's include his resume within this package so the bank can see that too.
Richard, does it substitute if I am a doctor or somebody else, Wall Street guy with money, and I hire an experienced restaurant manager, 15-year experience, does that substitute?
It may substitute, but the bank or the lender are probably going to ask that you have an employment contract with that chef or manager, right? Because if that chef or manager leaves, then you're back running between the hospital and your restaurant, trying to make it work. You know, when we get those type of investors that come into our office, Chris, looking to buy a restaurant or a bar or a hotel or whatever, we say, look, let us try to team you up with experienced people. We have a lot of people that have a lot of experience. They don't have the money to buy the restaurant themselves. But if you give them some sweat equity and you bring them into the deal with you, it could work. But without them, you might as well not even, waste your money, because those are the biggest failures. The ones that go into the industry not knowing what they're doing, or think they can run a restaurant on autopilot and not have to be there, and they can have their corner table on a Saturday night, and that's the reason why they're making this purchase. Good question though, Chris. Besides talking about the management, you want to talk about your service. It's a powerful way of conveying your approach to the hospitality industry, right? Will your restaurant have indoor and outdoor seating? Will you have takeout, curbside, and other delivery services? The one thing this past year and this pandemic has brought about is it's opened up the eyes of restaurants to show there are other profit centers other than indoor dining. There is the takeout. There is the outdoor opportunities. So if you have those opportunities and you're going to employ them, show the lender that you're going to do that. And then that pretty much wraps up, most of the narrative section of the package. Now, it's a lot to put together. It's a lot of writing. You may not be a good writer. If you sketch out your thoughts, if you put them on paper, you can contact SCORE and have one of their mentors who are experienced in writing business plan help you craft those thoughts of yours into a formal narrative business plan. But now we sort of get more into the numbers now. Now we talk about the source and use of funds, and a very important part for a lender to see. You want to provide a detailed statement showing the requested funding and how those funds are going to be used within your project. This statement is also sometimes called the source and application of funds statements, and banks require this statement as part of the application process for a commercial loan. And lenders like this statement because it's an excellent summary of your financial plans, showing where the money you need is coming from and how it will be used. All right, so let's take a look at that, what one of those may look like. All right. Here it is. Here's your use of proceeds. You lay it out. You show the bank of what we started right from the abstracts. I, the applicant, I'm putting up $400,000 of my own money. I'm requesting of a loan for $1.4 million. So the total proceeds I'll have for this project is $1.8 million. The acquisition price for the restaurant I'm purchasing is $1.4 million, which leaves me $400,000. I need 300 of that for renovations, right? Leaving me $100,000 left over. I have an estimated bank fee of 1 point on this $1.4 million, or $14,000. So the proceeds available before closing costs are $86,000. Now we can't stop there, because in order to close a commercial deal, there are a series of the closing costs that you're going to have to build into your budget. The first one is, a bank, any lender is going to require an appraisal and a phase 1 environmental if you're buying real estate. So those costs have to be included. Here we include $6,000, which is an average fee for both of those. The bank has to pay their counsel to review and prepare all the closing documents. That number has to be incorporated. The bank is going to do searches. There's going to be interest charged on the loan from, if you close mid-month or end month till the first of the month. That's got to be calculated. There's title searches. There's your own purchaser, your own counsel, your own attorney. There's recording fees. There's assignments. There's taxes and sewer and water bills that have to be brought up to date. There's a liquor license, a prorate fee. If you buy a license, it's a 12-month fee, and maybe the owner's already paid that in advance, and you got to pay a prorated amount back to him because you're taking it midterm or three-quarter term. There's insurance, your liability insurance, your workman's comp insurance. So in this example, our estimated closing costs are $35,900. We started with 86 before the closing costs. We minus the 35,900. It leaves us with $50,100, right? So we show the bank when we opened up in our executive summary that we needed $1.8 million in a project cost, 400 from ourselves as equity, $1.4 million from the loan. We needed 300 from renovations. We needed 50,000 for closing costs. And at the end of the day, we would have $50,000 left over in what we call a contingency reserve, money in your cash register to get the project, to get the restaurant open.
And Richard, for this kind of numbers, for the $1.4 million loan, 50,000 in cash availability there is a sufficient number. It's a good number.
It all depends, Chris. It depends if this is going to be a startup or that you're going to be buying a restaurant that's already a going concern. For a restaurant that's already a going concern, there are sales that are going to be coming in, right? So there is going to be money in the draw. So 50,000 is a good number. If you're going to close down and totally renovate, you might need a few more dollars than that, because then you're going to have to reopen. You're going to have opening training, opening food, opening liquor, and other items that we're not including in this particular example. Okay. So that's the use of proceeds. Now the other part of that use of proceeds is what we call the appropriation of capital. We're getting $1.8 million in funds. We show that $1.4 million is for acquisition, 300 are hard costs or renovations, and 100 is soft costs. That is made up of the closing costs and the working capital. Right? We show the bank that the loan requisition is coming 22%, 22 plus or minus percent from the applicant, 77 plus or minus from the bank. We're asking the bank for a 20-year, in this particular deal, a 20-year loan at 4.5%. And here's our monthly payments, right? $88.57, and here's our annual debt service, $106,285. We need to show this to the bank for two reasons. First, the first reason is to let the bank know we know what we're asking for. We know exactly what we're going to have to pay. But the second reason, and more important, is we're going to have to use these figures in the pro formas that we're going to base and present to the bank, again, which will be the subject of our third webinar. The next thing that you want to include, and I included it in this sample, is a renovation budget, right? Banks will lend money, especially the SBA loans, the 7A and the 504. They will lend additional money for renovations, but you need to have a detailed cost analysis of those renovations. You need to have a budget that's been priced out by a reputable contractor, because the bank wants to avoid potential overruns or cash shortages, and that you can't make it complete your renovations and you're going to come back to them within 6 weeks and say you need another 100 grand. That's not what they're looking to do. They want to make this loan up front, and they want to make it based on the information you gave them. So if you do have a renovation budget, you should lay it out again in a separate section in the package. Here's our budget. What are we going to do? We need to put a new kitchen and kitchen equipment in, $80,000. A new bar, renovate the 2 bathrooms, miscellaneous paint and decor. We got $130,000 on the first floor. This happens to be a 2-floor restaurant. The second floor, we want to put a holding kitchen. We need to recondition the bar. We need to put 2 new bathrooms. Whatever you're going to do, spell it out to the bank, show them the cost of each one of them, and let your budget plan out to what you said it was going to be, $300,000. Right?
Hey,
Now,
Rick, I have a question. Can I just
do the lenders know which the reputable construction companies in the local area are for this kind of construction?
I think the restaurant industry knows who the better architects and contractors are. I was just going to say the bank may ask you for accompanying invoices or estimate from the construction company as part of this renovation budget. Mm-hmm. And what we said last week, you may want to include as a part of your budget a write-up on your contractor or your architect, maybe a paragraph on each one of them, so that the bank will know who you're dealing with.
And Richard, is it better, say you think you may want to be doing some renovation, but you're not entirely sure, is it better to be sort of more aggressive in what you're requesting in the initial loan, aggressive but realistic, I would say, in the initial loan application?
Yeah, it would be better. You hit the right word though, realistic. You have to be within range. If you need 300, you might ask for 350. It's all based on a loan to value of the assets that you're buying. And if you really need additional money that's above and beyond what the bank might require, they may give it to you, but they may say, look, we need additional collateral, right? They might want to take a second mortgage on your residence, or if you own another building, take a second mortgage to secure the additional amount. Right?
And what if you don't use the funding? So say the renovation budget was 300,000 and you get approved for that additional 300,000, but the renovations only came in at 220, for example. What happens then? Is that sort of just extra money that you now have available for other use?
Not really. Banks, when it comes to renovation capital, they really stage the distribution of that money, right? They might give you $100,000 to get started, and then they might send somebody out to check the work that you've done. You show them what you've done. You show them the outstanding invoices, and then they will release another 100,000. And they want to check your work. They want to make sure that you ask for 300 to do the renovations, that you're doing the renovations, and you're not doing the renovations on your house, or you're not using it for something else. So
they audit, the banks audit and stay on top of the allocation of funds and stuff.
Some more than others. Some will actually send an inspector out there periodically to look at the work and check your invoices. But the important thing to remember is that there is money out there for renovation if you need it, right? Now, the other things that we talked about, you want to offer the bank your collateral. Well, the bank's going to ask for certain collateral, so you might as well offer it to them up front because they're going to want it anyhow. When you offer it to them up front, you have a chance to limit it to what exactly they want and not give them more than they want. So with any commercial loan, if you're buying real estate, they're going to want to put a first mortgage lien on that real estate. They're going to want to put a UCC or a first security interest on all the furniture, fixtures, equipment that are within that premises. If you're buying a liquor license within it, they're going to want a pledge of a corporate stock or membership units that of the entity holding the liquor license. Now that stock and that pledge to the bank is really it's a hypothecation of the stock. Nobody can lien a liquor license in the state of New Jersey except for the federal government or the state of New Jersey itself. So by the bank taking that hypothecation, holding those shares, if push came to shove and you had to file bankruptcy, they may not get that liquor license back, right? They may not get that liquor license back, but it's an extra security level that they want to have anyhow. They're going to ask for the personal guarantees of the buyer. You're not going to get a loan unless you're ready to sign personally. And again, if your loan exceeds the 80%, 85% loan to value requirement of a bank, you might have to place other collateral up so that the bank may consider your loan. You should describe the property that you're buying, right? You should include within there, what the zoning of the property is. Show them a survey or a tax map, right? We're skipping the pro formas. Tell them where the market is. Where is the restaurant, right? Describe the location. They're not going to know all the locations. I mean, you might say your restaurant is in Westfield, but where is it in Westfield? Is it in downtown Westfield? Is it right off the Parkway? They're going to want to know exactly where it is. And then you want to also include a market overview. You want to talk about the marketplace that the restaurant is in. The more you can describe and paint a picture of your restaurant to, this is the financial section that we're skipping, to the lender, the better idea of they're going to have of what your project is really going to be. So, describing your property is just laying out the size of the land. And again, if you have an appraisal to pull this information, it'll be good. If you don't have an appraisal, you can just draft a simple one-page information on the property. If it's in a flood zone, that's important for a bank to know. You should list that up there. You should talk about the parking, what utilities are at the site, right? Then you want to describe the building, the square footage. This is a 2.5-story, 5,160 square foot building. If you know the construction details, lay them out. If you don't, it's really not that important. You do want to describe your heating and your cooling to them. A floor plan would be good so they can see the overall layout of the restaurant, what the property is zoned for. This is a general commercial use, and the use as a restaurant and bar is a legal conforming use. That's important from a bank, right? Sometimes you want to buy a property that's not a conforming use, but it's grandfathered in. For example, the property might have been there before the township changed the zoning, and it's grandfathered in as long as it stays the same use. The bank needs to know as well. A tax map showing the property, information about the marketplace. This is easy with the internet. You can gather this from many sites and pull it in there. But the bank, could read about the area. They can read about the township that you're in, and you can give them all the information of the location and the property that you're buying. An aerial photograph to include shows them the size of the property. Demographics, 3, 5 mile, 10 3, 5, and 10-mile radius of the property to give them the estimated population, to give them the median household income. All of these things are important for a banker to make a decision in a loan.
Richard, how big of an area do you typically look at that you're going to draw customers from? Is it 5-mile area?
That's a good question. That's really up to the restaurant and the restaurant's concept, and that's why that needs to be described in the concept statement. Look, if you're downtown in a downtown location, you're probably going to limit it to 3 to 10 miles area. If you're out on a highway, you might go out to do a radius of 5, 10, and 20 miles. So it really depends, your concept and what area you're going to draw your clientele from. So your demographics, Chris, again, a good question, should be attributable to the radii, the farthest radii that you're going to bring in customers from, right? I think one of the most important things to do is to also show the bank your competition in the area. You don't want to go in there with blinders on and that you're the only guy in the area and you're going to grab all the business, right? You need to show the bank who's in the area and who's your direct competition. In this particular presentation, there's about a dozen different restaurants in the area, some in the same town, some in a neighboring town, and some not too far away. You need to show the bank that, and you may want to describe, again, this should be in your concept and your business plan, how your concept is going to be different or better than the competitors that you list within your presentation. Right. That's really coming to the end of putting your presentation together. The rest of the presentation, besides the pro formas, which we'll cover in the next webinar, are really financial information and documents that you need to gather and include as exhibits in your package, right? The essential documents that you need to include, I talked about in the beginning. You need a signed contract, agreement of sale, evidencing the assets that you are purchasing, the purchase price, and how those assets are allocated. If you have a recent copy of an appraisal, include it, right? If you have a recent copy of a phase 1, maybe the seller did a phase 1 for another bank a few years back, include it. If you don't worry about it, because the bank's going to get those done themselves. And another tip is, don't go out and pay for an appraisal to include in your package, because you're going to pay for it twice. You're going to pay for it on your own, and you're going to pay for it when the bank gives you a commitment, because your appraiser may not be on their approved appraisal list.
Richard, how do you go about getting some kind of approximate number so that you don't go and spend a lot of money on this, on lawyers, etc., just to find out that later on that the appraisal won't come in?
Well, if you work with a good real estate broker, there are comps that you can determine an estimated value of your property. And you got to be careful. I mean, if you're buying a restaurant or a banquet facility, you don't want to go to a residential real estate firm and ask them for comps, because they're going to give you houses. You don't want to go to a company that sells or leases office space and industrial space, because they're not going to have the right comps. You need to have comps that are comparable to what you're buying. And you do a disservice, or the appraiser does you a disservice, when he doesn't use comparable comps. If you're buying a restaurant or a bar or a banquet facility or a hotel, those are the comps that should be compared with. And if an appraiser will do is he'll come up with a square footage price of $200-300 a square foot. And if your building's 5,000 square foot and the price per square foot is $300, the building's approximately worth $1.5 million. So you have that knowledge going in. And if you're going to purchase a restaurant and sign a contract, you should have that information up front. You should have what the liquor license values in that particular municipality are. They're different from municipality to municipality. When you purchase a Red Bank liquor license, it's a different price when you're purchasing an Old Bridge liquor license. And you can't use a Red Bank liquor license in Old Bridge and an Old Bridge license in Red Bank. They're only good for the municipalities from where they're issued from. So all of these things should be part of your due diligence process before you sign that contract that you want to buy this or acquire these assets. One of the key things that I noticed that bankers really tune into are exterior and interior photographs of the premises, right? The old saying, a picture tells 1,000 words. They're very important. The bankers can visualize what the place looks like, and how's the bar look, and where's the dining, and the outdoor they can see the setting and the parking. And if you're buying an old dilapidated place that you're going to renovate, I would suggest getting some professional computer renderings done of what the new facility is going to look like, and include those in your presentation. So to give the banker an idea of, look, I'm asking you for $300,000 to renovate. Here's the finished product. Here's what it's going to look like when we're done. So those documents are Exhibit A in your list of exhibits. Exhibit B is going to be the personal information, right? A resume on you, and if it's more than one applicant, any of the applicants, a resume showing your experience in the industry, a signed credit release authorization, giving the bank the authorization to check your credit, an up-to-date personal financial statement with listing all your assets and all your liabilities, and 3 years personal tax returns, right? Those are the basics of what the bank's going to ask for you personally. If you're buying an existing or an ongoing business, right? Well, let me back up. If you're going for an SBA loan and you own other businesses, they are going to ask you for profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and 3 years corporate tax returns on any other business you are a 20% owner or greater. So if you have other restaurants, or if you have other businesses that you're involved in, be prepared to submit them in your package along with your personal information. And finally, if you're buying an existing going concern business, the bank's going to see a profit and loss statement on that, current profit and loss statement on that business, balance sheets on that business, and 3 years corporate tax returns for the business that you're buying. Those are all the exhibits you're going to need, including in your package after your whole narrative section that you've put together. Right? And the very last thing to finish this up is you want to make your package look good. So you want to include a nice cover page and a table of contents. And the table of contents is very important, because the banker doesn't want to go through the whole package if he's looking for the section on collateral. So here's an example of what a loan cover page looks like. This is the subject property, the loan we're acquiring. Here's the applicants. Here's the request. Here's the closing date we're requesting. We're presenting it to this banker, Thomas Bankwell. We submitted it on March 25th, 2021. And here's our table of contents, listing the section and the page. They can find whatever they want, right? Now, there's two ways. In the old days, we always submitted hard copies of these packages to the banks. Now, with the electronic submissions, banks have portals that you can upload everything to. So depending on your bank, whether you could just upload your entire package and all your exhibits to them, or you have to put a complete hard copy together. My suggestion, if you're going to put a hard copy together, don't bind it, permanently bind it. You want to put it in a 3-ring loose leaf binder That's because the banker might want to flip through that binder and take out things and make copies to distribute to the board or whoever other decision makers they might have. It's much easier for them to just open a 3-ring binder, pop a page out, copy it, and put it back in. So there we really have our loan requisition presentation from start to finish, from the loan abstract all the way through the exhibits that you need to attach. I hope this was helpful today. In our second webinar, again, if you need help assembling that, contact SCORE. They have mentors just like Chris that are very experienced in writing business plans and in putting numbers together and in helping you format your loan requisition presentation. And our third and final webinar in this series will be on April 15th, and it'll be creating the financial performers that the bank is going to want to see.
Great. Thank you so much, Richard. This is really valuable information, and from a pro in the industry, and who knows what he's talking about. So I don't have anything more to say more than this is really good stuff, and it is tailored to the restaurant industry. As I said, I'm not an expert in that. I'm not experienced in that, but I borrowed a lot of money for different businesses, and it goes in the same stream, and this is tailored to the restaurant industry. Very good stuff. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Richard and Chris. Again, it is super valuable information, and it's for me, who's not ever really been into the restaurant industry business-wise, same as Chris, but it's fascinating to hear the nuances and the differences about it. So if anybody has any questions, pop them now into the Q&A. If not, as we said, next webinar is on April 15th. We also have a number of other webinars more generalized towards business in general. You can check them out on our website at monmouth.score.org or on our Facebook page. And this will be on YouTube within the next few days. Just give us a couple of days to get it downloaded and put back up into YouTube. And I think that is all I have, unless anybody has any questions, or Chris or Richard, you have anything else to add?
Nope, I'm good.
I am good. Thank you.
Great. We will see you all on the 15th. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Good day.